Yeah. All right. So probably everybody who has been seeing these streams, you guys know that I'm kind of annoyed that like everybody is reacting to what George Lucas says as a surprise. Now I get it. Like, well, just to start off, does George Lucas hate Star Wars? Yes and no. He doesn't hate his Star Wars. He hates Disney Star Wars. Now, I want to kind of do this stream. I kind of want to talk about like everything we kind of owe the guy. This dude, like what he did, what he's accomplished in life, and like how much he's accomplished and what he actually did. This guy was an inventor. He is an inventor. He's a creative through and through, but he's also pretty freaking smart. If you read the description, I call the Disney usurpers, mainly Kathleen Kennedy, because they deceived him. She deceived him, and it was all. It sucks that it happened. Like, plain and simple, it really sucks because he was he sold the company thinking that this is the best thing to do, and this is gonna make this, like, it's gonna save jobs. Like, he was listening to the wrong people, and he's been listening to the wrong people since probably like like since the 80s. He's been listening to the wrong people, and he's also can't, like, nobody else was around him to tell him otherwise, really. The Like, this guy, he cares not only about Star Wars but everything he's created so freaking much that he goes to, like, way beyond the length of any director or creative or business owner usually does. Like, he famously consulted a, a child psychologist for Return of the Jedi to see what kind of impact the for Empire, actually, what kind of impact it would have on children, knowing that Vader is Luke's father, or the reveal. Like, what kind of, is there anything psychological that can be, well, like, you guys get it. He was worried about the kids. Like, he created Star Wars for the kids, and then he created Indiana Jones for the adults. That's practically it. He didn't just create that. He was one of the producers for Land Before Time. He obviously created other films, Lucasfilm. Um, like, think about it. He did American Graffiti, got money, and then finally he convinced somebody to fund his what the freak is that noise? Yo, what's up, Derp? But yeah, we've returned. It's been a minute. I think I started like last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure though. But anyways, George Lucas, he freaking, he did American Graffiti. He he convinced Fox, or an executive of Fox, that to do Star Wars, which practically was the guy telling him, "I don't believe in your movie, your idea, but I believe in you, so I'm going to fund this." Not, and again, not believing in the product itself. That's why he was able. Oh shoot! Did that thing turn off? Damn! Give me a minute. Give me 1 second. I'm still trying to figure this out. All the lighting you see back here is actually lightsabers. So it just turned off. Give me 1 second. All right. Um. The Yeah, and then that's how he was actually supposed to. Luckily, they didn't believe in him because he was able to negotiate the rights to do a sequel after it. So it's a no-brainer for any company to be like, yeah, this product, like, we're funding this product, kind of like a, If it's successful, great. If it's not successful, we're not putting too much in it. Dang, is it connecting to something? The freak. Whatever. Um, if it's, oh shoot, maybe I need to turn off the Bluetooth on my freaking laptop. Yeah, and it's freaking off. I don't know what the freak is happening. Um, but yeah, so he he was able to negotiate the rights, got for sequels, and then also the merchandising rights. So all the toys, everything you freaking see, like awesome. Like he owned it. He was able to expand on it as well. So he made sure already understood that studios, when they get their hands on something, they're gonna freaking milk it for all it's worth. They're not gonna worry about storytelling. They're gonna worry about product placement. Just to put as much get as much money out of it as possible. Like imagine if Empire was had the studio involvement, had any studio involvement. You'd probably see some form of Coca-Cola ad. You'd probably see, like, let's see what was popular at the time in like 1980s, late 1970s, early 1980s. Well, you guys kind of get the idea. All right. The we would have damn. It's funny because I'm trying all this new stuff out and it ain't working. Or oh shoot, maybe I can actually get it to work. Can I? Son of a crap. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. I guess we'll do it like that. Yeah. Again, the white light, it's a lightsaber. This is a lightsaber. Theory sabers and some freaking Chinese company mixed with ultra sabers that we put. Thanks to Anderson, he installed for me. But man, these freaking lightsabers do not last long. I want to know if it's a setting. If it's on, maybe you have to freaking keep hitting it. I don't know. Keep messing around with it. I don't know, dude. But anyways, the he negotiated for that. He like Empire would have been different. Everything would have been different. Yeah, that thing. There's something wrong with that saber. Damn. I don't know what the deal is. But then he decided to open. I'm not, and I'm not going in order. But he opened ILM, and then he opened a video game company. This is a dude who I highly recommend everybody look into the life of George Lucas. Like, dude, this guy wanted to be a race car driver. He was planning to be a mechanic when that didn't work out. And some freaking way I'm just gonna do a movie, and he just did it. Like, he just got cameras and started doing stuff. He was figuring it out, and then obviously he was friends with Spielberg, and Spielberg was figuring things out too. And then he had his network, and it was growing all great. But he was able to do everything himself practically, and almost no help. Sometimes none, and a lot of times himself also fighting against anybody who, like, people who, like, actively resisted this guy. So George Lucas goes, and after he makes some successful films, like some of the most successful films in history, he goes and decides, oh, I'm going to create ILM, and Industrial Light and whatever. But the reason why we could do YouTube today, we could pick up a camera We can have editing software. It's thanks to him. He pioneered this stuff. He was a fan of um like I know it's not exactly or directly to it, but you guys get the idea. He Dude, was this thing just streaming randomly? Just I'm just looking at the time here and it's off. But anyways, he was like he did all this stuff to progress technology. He was like a massive advocate for people like create like just small time creatives doing fan films. He loved fan films, and I think he's actually reached out to some people that did fan films and see if he could use an idea that they had in his own property. Now, and I'm pretty sure it was Star Wars, and there was some other things like there was a yeah like and he allowed like satire like Spaceballs like he like think about it like they went to him and be like, hey, we want to do a movie and we're gonna like pretty much use the premise of Star Wars and just do like a comedy. And then he's like, all right, like go ahead and do it. I'm all for creativity, making fun of stuff. Just don't make any toys out of it. That was pretty much the deal. And if you want to make any toys, I own the rights, which I'm not sure if anybody ever did. I looked up Star Wars stuff. I only knew about Spaceballs when I was a teenager, and I never really like watched it. I only watched it because of John Candy, but yeah, I highly recommend the film. It's actually pretty funny. It's very old school, so like if you like, and it's like very like kid like humor. It I don't know how to describe it. It's like a pure humor. Still has like cussing in it, but it's an adult joke, but it's like very simple and it's just nice. Um, but George Lucas does that, and he does. Obviously, he knows something about effects, and special effects, and CGI, but he's learning and he's creating that stuff as well. Famously, Peter Jackson to do Lord of the Rings stole pretty much his ideas, stole the stuff from ILM to do, not his ideas, stole the technology from ILM to do Lord of the Rings. So, in a way, we wouldn't have the Lord of the Rings motion pictures without George Lucas either. Um, yeah. Like I know the company had like over 1,000 employees at the time George Lucas was running things. The also, um, then he creates a gaming company. Like that, video games are bigger than Hollywood will ever be. Like it's a medium that's astronomically bigger. It's the biggest medium in the world, and it will never be toppled by anything. Um, it's the most interactive you can get with anything related to a screen. So, like he just went for it. He's like, no, like we'll get people who know about it, and then I will approve ideas and I'll go for it. And but we gotta have our own gaming company because we can't be ruled by people who have no creativity, don't have passion for this, because that's the problem we face now. It's people who don't have passion, people who have passion for their own ideologies, their own ways of thinking, instead of, and that's fine. Like we all have passion for whatever religion we're a part of, whatever principles of parenting, of life that we live day to day. You know, if you go to the gym every day and you exercise and you have a great physique, you're passionate about the gym. You're like, we all have very specific passions that if somebody gets us talking about it, we're on a roll, man. And especially nerds, like we all like you bring up a comic book that happens to be our favorite comic book, we're gonna talk about that for at least 5 hours with you. Like that's gonna happen. If we're at like well, it's been a while, but when we used to go to events like somebody's wedding that that maybe I didn't know, like I practically like looked for a nerd. I was like, okay, who can I talk to about Lord of the Rings, about Star Wars, about comics, like anything but like the typical conversation you get as adults, like, oh, so what do you do for work? I'm like, oh yeah, well, how's that industry? Like, blah blah blah. I was like, man, shut up, man. Like, this conversation is so worthless. Like, you work somewhere, I work somewhere, and it's different, and that's it. And if it's the same, f off, because I spent all my time there, and I don't want to talk about work after work with somebody from work. Like that, I don't want that. So, like, we love to share things and we love to bring people on and help them out. And that's what George Lucas was. Like, he was a shy dude, but he looked for actors who were not recognized, not just for like, oh, I want everybody to see this character as this actor. Like, he wasn't hindering anybody's freaking career. Like, Harrison Ford, obviously, the probably the most famous out of anybody in the Star Wars cast. He went on and did great films. Um, and he became one of the most well-known actors in history. And I think, I'm not sure if anybody else from Star Wars, whether original or prequel, I think Ian McGregor and Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson probably more so than anybody else other than Harrison Ford. That's probably true. Like, oh yeah, Samuel Jackson's in it too, and he yeah. So like that, like Liam Neeson and Samuel Jackson pretty comparable in terms of career. Harrison Ford, he I would say, man, I can't say if him or uh or Samuel Jackson's the most recognizable. It might be, yeah, it might be Harrison Ford for sure. But we George Lucas with the video games, it stayed very true to not only entertainment but just storytelling and adding on. It wasn't just a remake. Like, he added things from the novels, and which I still this day I don't understand, from Revenge of the Sith. Like, the Revenge of the Sith novel, and I think the video game as well, came out before. No, maybe the video game didn't, but the novel came out before Revenge of the Sith. And in the video game and the novel, you get to fight Mace Windu as Anakin. Okay? And then they changed that for the movie. And I don't understand why. There's so many other things that they probably should have changed. Like better choreography for the General Grievous fight, because it's practically not a fight. It's pretty terrible. I love it still, but it is bad. But anyways, like this, he created things that everybody still uses today. He did everything for the right reasons. Yes, he got billions of dollars selling Lucasfilm to Disney. Obviously, that was man, I don't know why I'm freaking forgetting words right now. That was a motivator, but he really wanted to preserve Lucasfilm. He was listening to Yes Men all the time. That was the problem, and he had no fans to listen to. Like, part of the sale was even people who love the prequels. It was our fault, We didn't share the love that he needed, and everybody who had hate shared the hate with George. They wrote him letters, emails, whatever. And so he was worried about that he lost his touch. And I think personally, he stayed the same from American Graffiti, but he's better than Zack Snyder. But think about Zack Snyder. He made 300 and then made the Snyder Cut. You feel me? 300, great movie. Snyder Cut, what the freak? Or better yet, better comparison, 300 and then made Sucker Punch. some people are a little too creative, where they start throwing everything they think in there, or they're creative enough, like where they keep it in the pocket, but they don't know how to flow it in by themselves. So think about at least New Hope and Empire. He had a bunch of people who are actually very passionate, especially in Empire, about where the story is gonna go, how to make it flow, to the point where I think, and even in Return of the Jedi, like they had like he had screaming matches with some people, um, and obviously there's things that affected him, like going through a divorce, and then for the prequels having raising kids and kind of being out of the whole um thing, like out of the whole, I guess, movie medium. He approved books, he helped write some scripts and stuff like that. He worked on different projects. He was doing, he was already thinking about Indiana Jones, the Crystal Skull, all that stuff. He obviously there's things that affected him, but in terms of at least the three movies, regardless of what you think of Return of the Jedi, he had people who were willing to tell him, like, this isn't a freaking good idea. This is actually pretty terrible. Don't do this. Please don't freaking do this. This is gonna be terrible for everybody involved. Nobody's gonna want to watch this movie. It is gonna be a dumpster fire if you put this idea. It's not gonna hold well. It's not gonna stand the test of time. Whatever it was, he was like, they were willing to let him know things aren't gonna work out the way he thinks it's gonna work out. And very well documented, by the way. More so the prequels, where there was only yes men, and also when George wasn't there, they were just, they wouldn't, I would say, talk behind his back. Like, yeah, I'm not sure if it worked out, but I trust George. Now I don't know if they were that dumb. And to give them credit, it was like, okay, I'm working with George Lucas, one of the most creative minds in human history. Like, creative, not saying the smartest or whatever, but has one of the creative, and he is a smart guy. And so like they maybe put a little bit too much faith in him, and they didn't have enough faith in themselves to be like, no, like I'm gonna tell George, like, hey, this is an issue. And I totally get it, because telling your boss something that maybe it was their idea, or they hired a certain person, and you let them know that like that was a mistake, it's a risk. You could get fired. Like they might be so hell bent on how well of a decision they made that it might not go well. But yeah, like it's a risk that I think everybody should be willing to take, like in the right way and at the right time, right? But George Lucas, like the things he's saying, it isn't a surprise. Like we've seen the videos, we've seen him at celebrations where he's not really happy to be there. He didn't show up for the Last Jedi, was it? Definitely didn't show up for Force Awakens, and the only thing that he did praise was Rogue One, that where they took some creative ideas, and Rogue One was, as bad as the movie is, it's as close as to a prequel quality of storytelling as you're gonna get from Disney. Everything else was just super awful, right? Made no sense, no creativity whatsoever. But like, it's still somewhat of an enjoyable film. I think the space battles are cool, but the writing is just atrocious, and some of the acting is pretty damn terrible. And yeah, so fast forward a little bit to when Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas were doing the interviews of like signing the sale to Bob Iger and all that stuff. Like, it's a travesty what happened to the guy. Him saying that like he has a life, he's moved on, isn't anything new. In the 60-minute interview, he talked about like how it's like a breakup. Like he can't drive. Like he has to let it go. He can't if he calls, the girl, she's not gonna hang up. If he can't be driving by her house, seeing like if she's found somebody else. Like it's like a breakup. Like he has to move on. And I'm pretty sure from at that point he was like, yeah, I don't like what they're doing. I have my own thoughts, my own ideas, which is contrary to theirs. And if they're gonna implement my thoughts, it's gonna be really bad for them. And I totally get that. But he probably had a little bit of hope. Was like maybe they can like turn around and come talk to me, because it's also it not and not including all the fumbles they did, like not putting Han, Luke, and Leia in a scene, the way they killed Han Solo, the death of a villain, which like when somebody dies and falling down a chasm, the chasm represents a void, like loneliness, solitude, and um like somewhat of selfishness. And that's what happens to an evil character when when a hero dies. Usually you have a last scene with a loved one, like, hey, this might be it, like let's say our goodbyes, like I don't know how this is gonna go. You could still have them die on their own, maybe like like an unceremonious death where they just got shot in the woods and there's nobody around to help them. But the audience, there's a respect there. But you can't kill him off like a villain, like, right? And then the Luke Skywalker with the Force overdose. Same with Leia. It's like, yeah, that's just stupid. But you yeah, like the death of Star Wars, I think it represents more of like the how heavy it is. It was the biggest IP in the world. Like I love Lord of the Rings. The trilogy is better than the original trilogy. And it's like, and we could discuss like maybe they should have spaced the movies out a little bit more. Like instead of a year, it's like 3 years between each film, since they already filmed it all together. That Warner Brothers got a little too greedy, all that stuff. But regardless, Star Wars was massive. It's not even talked about today. Like, dude, my son, when he goes to school and he's little, he there's like no kids wearing Star Wars shirts, no kids wearing having a Star Wars backpack, Star Wars water bottle, Star Wars shoes, anything related to Star Wars, a hat. Like, bro, when I went to school, I got bullied for having Star Wars stuff, but people talked about it. Even the freaking bullies, they talked about it. But like if you had a backpack, like that, it's gonna get torn up and you're gonna get beaten up, fool. But yeah, like the like he George Lucas already expressed multiple times to us, the fans, to Disney, that's like, hey, keep me out of this, because he can't actually talk explicitly about it. He directly affects the stock price of Disney when it comes to Lucasfilm, because this dude, he has stock in Disney and he wants it to be successful. It's kind of like, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, whatever, if you have a good head on your shoulders, whoever's the president, even if it's not the person you voted for and it's not the person you wanted, you don't want them to fail because you fell along with them. Like, you live in the country that they are currently leading. Therefore, if they fail, you have to pay some of that price. It's the entire reason why we vote. So he doesn't want Disney to fail. He wants Disney to come back to its roots, come back to creativity, hiring the right people, having the right people on the team, people who are fans, who like aren't worried about their paycheck. They're already in it. They're gonna get paid well, and they know if they just write something that is a great story and it respects what came before and it sets up some future, then great, dude. Like, that's what we all want. It's nothing freaking crazy. It's something super simple and easy. But we don't have that anymore. We don't have anybody who's like, and even if there was somebody, one person, dude, you have to change everything. Like, even actors nowadays, all they worry about is if they are actually aligned politically with their boss, or if everybody's also together, like in a bubble. Like, nobody understands the word tolerance anymore and what that means. So George Lucas, yeah, it's obvious he hates freaking Disney Star Wars, but it was also obvious his love for Star Wars as well. Like, he sold the company because he wanted to, he didn't want to put any of his employees at risk, and he thought it was going to stay alive. Like, hey, Disney's much bigger than Lucasfilm. They can make theme parks, and that was like part of the negotiation. Like, they had to make a theme park out of Star Wars, but they had the creativity, like, plans ahead of it. So he was like, okay, I didn't freaking word that right. It sounded like super retarded. But he pretty much just told them, like, all right, awesome. You guys take it and at least make a park. I don't care which worlds or whatever, but make a park and it's Star Wars, and that's it. Which they built like 1/4 of a park. Yeah. So he also sold everything, and then he put in place the very woman who trashed Star Wars. And we'll talk about Kathleen Kennedy in a bit, but then what happens? They replaced anybody who give a damn about Star Wars. And George Lucas is not perfect. Like, he brought Dave Filoni in, and it's obvious that Dave Filoni cares about Star Wars, but he's not the guy. He's one of those rogues that you need to tame. You need to, like, bring him back to reality. Like Sam Witwer, in the audition, he had to explain to Dave Filoni, like, hey, this idea actually doesn't work because Padme already met Shmi Skywalker, and you guys want to do a vision of that? This is supposed to be canon. This is supposed to be directly after number 2. So, what are we doing here? And, like, remember, the freak is that noise? Damn, this too? Man, gotta get better sabers. Does that just mean it's out of battery? I charged these things for like a few hours today. What the hell? Yeah, I don't get what's happening here. The freak. I might have to buy actual lights because these, man. Yeah, I'm gonna do a review on these, and I bought them when, like, Theory Sabers first opened up, and I'm not gonna. What? Is somebody freaking calling me? What is all these sounds? Because it's coming from my laptop, but the saber's right there, so I don't get it. And my Bluetooth is off, so if it's something connect, I don't. Gosh, I have a headache. Yeah, so you're gonna get this for the rest of the stream, because I'm not gonna keep looking back and like try to deal with that crap. Okay. Dude, Dude, I lost my train of thought. Damn it. Okay, well, we're still on. Like, the stream is about George Lucas, so I'm gonna stay on that. Kathleen Kennedy. Well, like, pretty much what Disney promised was they're going to do 7, 8, and 9, but they did their own version. They also promised that they were gonna have a theme park, and I think they promised that they were gonna consult him, but they made it very explicit in writing that they're not going to take on any of his ideas. Now, one of the biggest fumbles in, like I said before, not include like that they did in relation to George is never consulting the creator of the thing. Like, I get it, you bought the guy, but the guy is still, you bought the property from the guy, but the guy's still alive. Like, if you were worried if, like, hey, we did this one movie, we made a lot of money from it, but we are seeing some issues. Like, people, not everybody's happy. Is this how it worked? Like, granted, The Force Awakens had the effect where, like, people still had hope, and then we got Rogue One, and we're like, okay, like, yo, like, things are going, and even though we didn't like The Force Awakens, we're like, all right, the EU is a million times better, but let's see where this goes. Then we got The Last Jedi. We all know all the events, but they didn't once thought after that, and then Solo came like a few months after that and just completely bombed. And they didn't go to George and be like, hey, dude, this is not what we were expecting. Like, made money, but the fans are freaking pissed. Mark Hamill was fighting us like practically every step of the way. So how do we fix this? And then he probably would have gone along with Disney, and we would have had different discussions here. But, like, Rise of Skywalker would have been a million times better than what it is, what it was out to be. It was still had The Last Jedi existing. So I think also George Lucas, if those talks were ever had, he already thought way ahead of time, be like, no, you already did this. You caused the damage. We can't, unless you're willing to actually implement 7, 8, and 9, because all the actors other than Carrie Fisher are still around, and I could ride around that. But I also want to preface this. It might not have been compatible with the EU that a lot of fans think it would be. Like, George Lucas famously with the EU, he has a lot of contradictions when it comes to it. There's a lot of issues, not a lot, but there are things that, like, oh, you said this before, but now you changed it to this. And even with, like, constantly, the balance of the Force used to be no dark side, like, take away evil, and then it was how can light and dark coexist without falling over to the dark side, but staying completely to the light and understanding the dark side while it roams around you, which I understand that. But in terms of the fantasy bit, like, yeah, like, get rid of the dark side. That's the only thing you can really do. So, and remember, Bob Iger was a friend to George. Kathleen Kennedy was a friend to George Lucas. Like, she was his right hand. Maybe that's how she got the job. But Bob Iger, he was in charge or helped fund the project of, like, the Indy series, like Indiana Jones when he was a teenager. That wasn't bad. And I think we got to remember, so many shows were canceled because we had so many great shows happening at the same time. Like, it felt like nobody could catch up. Like, our lives were TV. If you knew every show, from, at least, think about it in the Star Wars perspective, from 1999, The Phantom Menace, all the way to 2005, Revenge of the Sith, And then we get let's think about also the Clone Wars series. If you were watching every show, animated, and not even just animated, just live action, dude, you can't catch up. Like Supernatural, Smallville, like whatever it was, like your life was TV. If you knew all these shows, your life was TV. Like I knew I watched Lost a little bit, but I never got really that much into it. Um, Never really got into True Detective or whatever like shows that were coming out at whatever times. That it wasn't. I was really into the fantasy stuff, so Supernatural. I was on Smallville, and then like animated series, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, Batman, Superman, Justice League, and the Clone Wars. It was only after season 5 that I got into the Clone Wars because a friend of mine had it all in DVD, and I didn't understand like even though my English was still pretty good, certain words like canon didn't make sense to me. I'm like, oh, it's just this. It's just like I saw the Star Wars animated. It's like, oh, this is a Star Wars for kids. Like, you know, uh, nothing like like connected to the movies. But the I think the main issue here is actually just everybody being surprised at how retarded and how like the fandom is. That's my biggest surprise. It's like, dude, we know we know uh, like his thoughts, and we know that he can never say anything to nobody about this. Like his explicit thoughts, probably other than his close friends and his wife, that will never come out and talk behind his back. Like his friend group is probably close knit after getting stabbed in the back, which Bob Iger, again, one of the dumbest moves in history, is releasing his freaking book detailing how he betrayed George. And then, um, what's up? I'm live streaming. You got a question? Okay. Um, the oh man, it's late and I'm tired. Like he detailed exactly how he betrayed George and how he made him feel. Like thinking that people were gonna receive this as a good thing. I don't understand where his thought, like his thoughts were, and I think it was right before the Rise of Skywalker too. And it was great that we like saw George on the set of Mandalorian, and we saw set pics, and he was just invited to the set, but it was all these talks of like, oh, he's back, he's gonna save Star Wars. Like, nah, dude, he's just a guest, and he's old. He's got a young kid. He wants to create this museum. Like, if the museum was already created, if the kid was a little older, and he didn't move out of, I think he doesn't live in California. Pretty sure he moved out of California. Then I was like, oh, then I'd be like, all right, this guy, he might be helping out. He might be like, hey, I'm gonna help you guys with stories that have nothing to do with any of the movies. It's just on a new planet that he created. Like, that would have made sense. Like, if we got the Mandalorian, but nowhere near Tatooine, just on different planets that we've never heard of. And I've said this before, like, the Mandalorian, maybe the most we should have got was Boba Fett, but we shouldn't have had any characters, any Jedis, nothing. Like, maybe just whispers, maybe one in the background in the middle of a battle, whatever it was. Like, we should not have crossed it with everything. Not every main character needs to meet the other main character for another show. And oh gosh, This freaking lightsaber is starting to look more yellow to me. And I don't know what's happening. Let me see if I could change this. But yeah, okay. Is it freaking fixed? That's yellow, man. The hell? Yeah, I don't know what all this means. I'm getting a yellow light. And just like slowly started forming into a different damn color. And how is it not white? Okay, anyways. Damn. So I'm messing around with stuff here. It's just, I told you guys, being back, I need to mess with a bunch of crap to see what works, what doesn't work. Because I'm going off this like a full-blown noob. And it's in my hot garage. What the hell's that static? Good lord, what does that mean? Oh, give me a second. I gotta turn on the lights. Man, this is whoever freaking whoever stuck around, good on you, man. Cause dude, this is for me freaking rough. Anyways, like yeah, like George Lucas, we do owe the guy a lot, and I do think the fans, we do owe him like and it might not even, it's most likely not gonna happen in his lifetime. Like, he's probably gonna pass away in the next 7 years. It's tough to say, but yeah, but I think we do owe him. Like, we should try to save it in some way, whether it's just fan films or we create like one thing I don't get is that we oh shoot, this is like overheating. Did this burn? Give me a second. I felt like it was gonna blow up. Yeah, I think as fans we need to find a way to fix Star Wars. Like, and it's a heavy task. Like, we gotta do what we can. Okay. Like, I know that we like Echo's Heart. Stupendous Wave is probably um my favorite Star Wars channel, and I think that he deserves way more recognition than he gets. But he's really stuck with like his way of doing things, as in like he creates lore videos, man, and that's what he wants to do. And Saber Theory, I think he's like mixing where it's like news and and podcasting and some, and also the lore videos. But I think he's really involved in this company, which is a good thing. I just don't know if and again, like, if you look at how long Stupendous Wave has been, or any of the Star Wars channels have been around, like, I noticed that there is a lack of interest in Star Wars because their viewership in lore videos was like at an all-time high right before The Force Awakens and right after, and maybe even after The Last Jedi. But now and they'll focus on the EU, which is really good, but nobody really cares because it's been so damaged that like, Marvel is still somewhat alive because of the mass appeal, and it's very different, and so is DC, and yeah, and like, but Star Wars is truly dead. Like, nobody, like, think about it as if you're an American, like, caring about Doctor Who, and you never even watched an episode. Like, that's how much Star Wars means to people right now. Not obviously not everybody. Like, I still love, you know, the prequels and original trilogy, the EU. I love reading the comics. Like, but I'm not, even someone like me who loves it, I'm not going and picking up a comic out of my shelf and be like, I want to read this. It's been forever. Like, I'll go read something else. Like, I'm reading right now one of the Flash parts of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Mainly because I wanted to read stuff about the Flash. And I remember reading the comic and how he mixes his mind with Barry Allen's when Barry Allen dies after the whole shebang. But I'm not even that interested. I don't want to show my kids Star Wars that much. I'm showing them Transformers, Power Rangers, like, pretty much anything but Star Wars. And I'll show them Star Wars like every now and then, not to like a huge extent. And that kind of makes me sad because, man, I did, like, most of my Halloween costumes are all Star Wars stuff. Most of the stuff I like have everything to do with Star Wars. Almost all Legos, like, I'm right here staring at a wall of Lego, and almost all the Lego I got is related to Star Wars. And all like creative stuff other than castle builds, like, I build in relation to like a Star Wars ship, what I think one would look at in the progressive, like, I have to show you guys the V wings that I made and what I think it would progress into if maybe the Empire didn't take over or whatnot. But yeah, like, my whole life was revolved around Star Wars practically. Like, I made my wife, when we were dating, watch 1 through 6 before we got married. And when I was dating her, The Last Jedi came out. And she had to hear me for like a good month after I understood how terrible that movie was, to like me bring it up to every single one of like her friends' boyfriends that knew something about Star Wars. Like, I had to like explain to her how much I hated it and why it was so freaking bad. Yeah, it was I was insufferable. But she she stuck with me. She married me, so yeah. Um Man, I feel bad that she had to go through that. But yeah, like, George Lucas, like, there's a lot to be said about a guy. And like, we as fans, like, we just let things happen to him. There was like the documentary People versus George Lucas, which I thought was really disingenuous. Like, I understand a lot of it. I understood why, but yeah, like, and there was people who like became famous on YouTube for just trashing the prequels. And I get it from a writing standpoint. I get it from an editing standpoint. But you can't tell me that the essence of Star Wars wasn't there. The story wasn't there. It wasn't there well. It wasn't fleshed out as well as it should have been. And again, like, but it's still like, They're movies that I will watch and I won't fall asleep. The Attack of the Clones is the closest I've ever fallen asleep to a Star Wars movie. And yeah, like there's still something about all of it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if we'll ever get that magic back. I think there's still a possibility, but I don't think that we should give up on Star Wars. I know there's the whole black pill stuff, and I totally get it. Um, but to me, like Star Wars was bigger to me than Marvel and DC was. So as much as I love all that, like DC especially, it if I had to pick something to save, it would be Star Wars. If I like, obviously James Gunn DC sucks. Snyderverse sucks. The MCU phase, anything after Captain Marvel or anything after Infinity War sucks. And I would still choose like Indiana Jones now sucks. Like, yeah, I would still choose Star Wars over all that stuff to save. Because I also think we owe it to George. Like dude, he like comic book writers, they got backlash, but they were also patted on the back by a bunch of people who thought like they did. Like George Lucas was going against his haters and also Hollywood. Like everybody was telling him how much he sucked. Like he didn't deserve all the crap that he got. Yes, he's a billionaire now. He's all the, you know, he's up there. But yeah, I don't like what he had to go through. Like it wasn't like he had no support. You know, like and then people were fighting with him in his company. Like there was infighting, there was fighting everywhere around George. So, and I understand because he did go against the system. Like he was truly a man of the people. He was really against big corporations until the point of, and I don't think he sold out. I just think he like had a friend who he thought was a friend at the head of a big corporation, and then he made it so that somebody who wasn't part of a big corporation that was part of Lucasfilm with him was going to do not just Star Wars but Lucasfilm justice. Like this company is a dead company. The only reason they're alive is because Disney is funding their projects. Like, and Disney's not doing well, but Disney is funding everything related to Lucasfilm because there's no profit there. Like they're so in the hole that they would have to make they would have to make multiple billion-dollar movies, like probably like at least $12 billion movies to be out of the hole and be profitable again. Because it like we know the 4.3 billion and then 4.7 and to all the added stuff that they bought later on, but the damage, like they keep their numbers close to the chest. Like Mandalorian, there's no like Disney Plus themselves has never made a profit, and you think the Mandalorian made a profit? Like they fumbled left and right, even in the merchandising. Like Baby Yoda, they didn't have the toys or dolls ready for Baby Yoda, even after the reveal. People were buying it from other people, from just like a fan who was like, dude, this part isn't out. I'm going to create it and sell it. Off-brand Baby Yodas. And people were buying them, dude. So, yeah. I'm tired. There's a lot more I wanted to say. But I think it was important for me to put my thoughts out there. I think, yeah, it sucks what happened to George. I think it sucks that he's going to leave this world before he sees anything remotely resembling his creation, his baby. He's going to die with the death of Star Wars under the Disney regime. And that really sucks, man. I can't imagine like having to disconnect. Like, what if, and his kid's a little kid, like his daughter, what if she comes one day like, hey dad, I heard about this Star Wars thing, it's so cool. Like he's not going to escape Star Wars ever. It's like as long as there's he has a child and there's family in his life, he can't escape it. Because it's going to, even though it might not be popular amongst children, like somebody's gonna know something about it. And like, oh yeah, I used to watch it. Like I really used to like this show and that show and blah 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 blah. You know, you're gonna come across a YouTube video. You're gonna come across somebody's like original home theater of your friends. You're gonna come across like any comic book store. You're gonna see somebody with a freaking sword. You know, even if they get into Gundam, they're like, man, like those laser swords are pretty cool. Yeah, they ripped it off Star Wars. What the freak is Star Wars? And so there's a lot of things that they got to figure out. And George is not going to be able to see any positivity come out of this. Now, I do believe that there is a way. And I just believe that way is going to be... It is the most difficult way to save something. But I don't believe it's at the point of no return. Like Disney Star Wars, it's been at the point of no return. But erasing everything Disney and saving Star Wars what it was itself, that can be saved. There's no writing or added shows or movies that can save or explain the Disney trilogy. Last Jedi, Force Awakens, and The Rise of Skywalker. That stuff, it's so terrible that no amount of comics, even the comics were perfect, after explaining why this happened, why you still ruined the characters. You still ruined their deaths, their portrayals, their connections with the Force, their connections with the freaking audience. You ruined it. Like if you watch Return of the Jedi, you can't jump to the Force Awakens. And I'll give it this. The Force Awakens was a perfect title to Return of the Jedi. To after that. For how many years after, like it was almost 10 years. What was Revenge of the Sith in 2003 or 2005? But it was almost 10 years after the fact where like we thought the same thing that the original fans thought, like we're not going to get any more Star Wars after this, it's been too long. And it was starting to get that like we were still talking about it because Clone Wars and comics and books and everything and video games especially, but then when we heard the announcement, all right, it's back, great. And then the Force Awakens, meaning Star Wars is back, and we already got the return of one Jedi, so that means a bunch of Jedis. We're going to get the Republic again. We're going to get something reminiscing of the EU, even though they told us that it's no longer canon. It's, it was a great title. The Force Awakens. Now, like, the title can't even be saved. If you slap it somewhere else, it's freaking retarded. So, yeah, it's just not going to, like, there's... Like Disney, unfortunately, owns Lucasfilm. I know I'm saying something obscenely obvious, and I thought it was also obvious what George thought, but apparently all of the fans, a bunch of YouTubers were just like, yeah, man, like finally we got like his 2 cents on it. I'm like, dude, we've had it. We've had him say it in better ways too already. It's just, I don't know why people are like assuming now is like, oh, now it's official that Star Wars is dead. Dude, it's been dead for a while, man. And again, the most egregious thing is Lucasfilm is dead. It's not just Star Wars. Lucasfilm is dead. A company which I would say anybody would give their freaking left nut to join. And it's dead. Like LucasArts, they killed it before it could do anything. And then they made Lucas Games, and that's also dead. They partner with EA. Battlefront is dead. Indiana Jones is dead. Willow is dead. Like anything that was related to Lucasfilm is gone. And the thing is, it was a different type of failure. It wasn't a failure of marketing. It wasn't a failure of interest. This company failed because another company wanted to use it as a catalyst to implement their own political agenda and ideology that had no place in these stories. They weren't confident in their own ideology to create their own thing and to not bastardize something that already existed. They didn't trust it enough. It's kind of like you see in games, movies, everything, the whole race swap stuff. The reason why that is so egregious isn't just because it isn't like, oh, it's fantasy, so you should get over it. No, it's because we can see the writing in the wall. Not only are you trying to shove something down our throat, but you don't even believe it as much as you say you do. Because you wouldn't have race swapped if you believed you can create an original character of that race that you're trying to promote, because you're promoting a race, you're not promoting a story. You don't believe in it that you can write a whole new story with a whole new character and then shove it, like put it out there. Because good writing is good writing, regardless of who the main character is and how it works and like what race you got behind it. It's good writing. Like Black Panther was a successful comic before the movie. Blade was a successful comic before the movie. Like Black Nick Fury was successful before the movie, and that was a race swap. And then they made him like the son of the original Nick Fury, which is whatever. Falcon was an original black character. Like he didn't need to be Captain America. That's a hand-me-down. So, like what you're saying is like unless you get the approval of the white dude, it doesn't, like, their character doesn't matter. Like come on. Like if people couldn't see that, then it's on you, man. And like Disney doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Lucasfilm does not deserve the benefit of the doubt. Like again, we should do our best to preserve whatever came before, because it is tiring sometimes. I go through YouTube and I'll have phases where like I don't want to listen to YouTubers no more because it's always like doom and gloom, negativity, and it's not because they're negative people. It's because that's all that there is out there. Like it's just garbage. We don't have anything good to pull from. We don't got any good new comics. We don't got any good new Star Wars. And it's not that we need new, but it's nice to know that we're going to progress. And yeah, like I was never excited for the next not like Star Wars novel, but a comic, yeah, I was pretty excited about it because of that series. But like you have a novelization of something, and that's kind of that. The only ones I was excited about was when Christopher Tolkien was alive and he was like, hey, we're gonna have a launch of this new thing, and I finally finished this other book that my father wrote as well. And I was like, oh, sick, we get more freaking Lord of the Rings, even if it's not in the third age, if it's the second age or the fourth age, like aftermaths and stuff, like little snippets, whatever. Like there was still good things that we were gonna get, but yeah, like dude, even now with the whole Halo going to PlayStation, like you know that's dead. Like Halo's officially dead, and it's a remake. It's not a remaster, it's a remake. Yeah, again, I'm not trying to be negative here. I just think that we should have all understood this is what George thinks. And that, like, dude, leave the guy alone, man. Star Wars sucks right now. Great. Like, the best media you're going to get is YouTube in relation to Star Wars. Awesome. Dude, I praise Star Wars Theory because he does the fan films. I don't even really like the the first Vader fan film. It I don't think the story would go like that, but it's his vision and it's a fan film, and I still enjoyed it and it's done well. Like if I had to choose what's freaking canon and what isn't, it's definitely that, and Disney is not canon. Like I would be fine with that if George Lucas made that exactly how that is. I still would feel the same way, but it's like, yeah, it's canon. You know, like right now, what we need is copy and paste. You take, we're getting Spider-Man movie. You take the Amazing Spider-Man comic and copy and paste, page for page, word for word, man. Like if somebody did a fan film for the Force Unleashed and somehow, and you just did literally scene for scene, dude, it would be canon for everybody. And obviously, if Sam Witwer ended his contracts with Lucasfilm, as much as like he's on the side of George Lucas, he needs a job and he's with Lucasfilm. I don't know how he gets paid, but he's there, man. Uh, if he, I wish he got to the point where he made so much money that he could just leave, and then some crazy YouTuber out there was like, "Hey, man, I want to do a fan film of The Force Unleashed and literally just do first two games, and then we find whoever was part of The Force Unleashed 3 that never got released and pick their brain and see how we can make our own trilogy and then release it for freaking fun." Like that's the kind of stuff that could keep it alive. But yeah, I'm going to make Star Wars content. I'm going to talk about Star Wars because I love Star Wars and I love fandom. We do gotta stop acting surprised over like this bullcrap because it's not a surprise. And George Lucas, great man, but we gotta stop bothering the dude about Star Wars. Like no more questions to George about Star Wars. We already know his thoughts, man, and we already know the limit of how he can express himself. I just hope when his museum is open, it's he is happy. He is as happy as he was before Disney. I hope that for George. Man, I hope I hope he understands that people loved the films that he created. And even if they weren't good, like they loved him. So, yeah, if you guys ever see George, just thank him. Thank him for everything he's done, man. Like he's not perfect. He's made mistakes, but you know, he did give us some of the greatest movies in history, and he did give us some of the greatest arguments in history between fans. And yeah, like that's all I got to say. I'm gonna end the stream here, because I gotta get some sleep, and yeah, I got a big day ahead of me. Yeah, if you stuck around, Derp, thanks for coming back. If anybody else is like wants to talk Star Wars, you could reach out and maybe we can do some streams together. Because man, I love talking about this kind of stuff. That's the whole point of this YouTube channel, and for me to have some fun. But yeah.